Hello, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me here this morning on Narcissism 101 Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a good Monday morning so far. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. And before we get into what we're going to talk about today, if you would like a one on one session, please email me, paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or you can send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out whether the person you're dealing with is a narcissist or not, please feel free to reach out to me. I just want to mention if it's your first time on this channel, and if it is your first time, first of all, thank you so much for being here. We truly do appreciate having you here. If you would like a one-on-one session, I just want to mention, please just make sure that you send a text to the number first and let me know your name. Let me know that you've been watching my videos for quite some time. If you just call the number, I just may block the number just because I just don't answer random numbers. There are a lot of predators out there. There are a lot of people that just want access to information from you. So just be careful with that as well. But just send a text message to me. Let me know your name, and then I can get you the help that you need. All right. So let's get into what we're going to talk about today. I've got a good one for you guys. I was trying to choose between two topics, but for this topic, for this video, what we're going to talk about is that there are two camps of flying monkeys. Yes, there are two camps of two different types of flying monkeys, and we're going to talk about those different types of flying monkeys right now. So, when we're talking about flying monkeys, first question we have to answer first is what exactly is a flying monkey? And I've answered this question a few times on my channel, and I actually made a video talking about specifically what flying monkeys do and what their function is. But I'm just going to define it because I know that there are some people that are new to narcissism, and this is perhaps their first video, and maybe this video just cropped up for them. So I'm going to talk about what a flying monkey is. So essentially, a flying monkey is essentially somebody who enables the narcissist poor behavior and somebody who does work for the narcissist. And this work includes, doing things that the narcissist asks them to do. For example, stalking their targets, stalking their victims, getting information from people for the narcissist. And just doing whole multitude of things. That's what a flying monkey essentially is. They enable the narcissist's poor behavior. When the narcissist is being disrespectful to someone, disrespectful to a target, disrespectful to their husband, disrespectful to their wife, disrespectful to a colleague, disrespectful to a coworker, disrespectful to an employee, a flying monkey is essentially somebody who will back the narcissist up in their abuse, in the abuse that they dish out to a target. So what this looks like in a family is, let's say that the narcissist is the narcissist is your dad, is the father of the family, or the mother, and the flying monkeys essentially could be the children. The flying monkeys could be the father's one of the siblings of the father or a parent of the father, or the flying monkeys could be the father, the wife of the husband of the father. So a flying monkey essentially is someone who backs a narcissist. So let's say that when the father's abusing one of the children, let's say. And this is just a hypothetical example, and this probably does, and I know that this happens. But let's just say that the father is abusing the child. Well, the flying monkey, the wife, in this case, if it's the wife is the one who's going to be sitting back watching, and the wife's going to be snickering and laughing, and the wife is going to allow that abuse to happen, rather than step in and not allow for it to happen and stop the her husband from beating the child. Right now, I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't discipline your children. That's not what I'm trying to say. Because for your children to grow up to be upstanding citizens and understand that there are consequences to poor behavior, that you discipline your children. You give them a spanking and you make sure that you reprimand them when they do something wrong. Right? But beating them is a whole different story. Beating them falls under the category of abusing your children, right? Whether it's beating them with a stick or with an object or something like that. That is what is known as abuse, That falls under the category of abuse. Abuse is anything that can cause harm, any action rather that can cause harm to another human being. When you're disciplining your child and you're spanking them, you're not abusing them. What you're doing essentially is you are disciplining them, right? You're making sure that they don't repeat this behavior, moving forward in the future, right? That's why you discipline your children, but you beat them to abuse them. So that's the difference. I just wanted to mention that. But essentially, let's say that so I talked about the family dynamic, and let's say that there's a child in the family who's disrespectful to another child. Well, what can happen is the flying monkey could be the parents, because the parents could be enabling that child to abuse and be disrespectful to the other child, right? So that's in a family dynamic. Let's say that we're at work. Let's say that you have a narcissistic boss or a narcissistic workplace bully, right, of a colleague. Let's just say that there's a employee who's doing a good job at work, or let's say that there's an employee who's not quite pulling their weight. Maybe they're not as strong as everybody else on the team. Well, the narcissistic colleague will be the person that makes fun of them, says you're not good at your job, you should go work somewhere else, where you should just go work somewhere else because you're just not good here, you don't belong here. Yeah, that's one thing they say. A narcissist would say, oh, you don't belong here. And then the narcissistic, boss would back them up, and then they would say, "Yeah, I agree. You don't belong here." And then that poor person, who's being bullied, they don't know how to act. They continue to work at that job because they need a paycheck, or because they're scared of leaving because that boss is going to hunt them down or follow them. Like, they just don't know what to do. So essentially, that boss is the flying monkey. That boss is the enabler, is enabling that colleague to abuse that other employee, right? That's more of a workplace. That's a workplace scenario. Let's say that you're in a religious organization. It doesn't have to be church, but it can be a mosque. It can be it can be any other. It can be any religious organization. It doesn't matter. But let's say that it's a religious organization. Let's say that you're relatively new to the religious organization. It's your first time. You're not familiar with this religion, and you're not a religious person, but you want to go because you want to. Let's say you want to make improvements to your life. You want to better your life, let's say, right? And you're there for the purposes of learning, right? I hope you're there for the purposes of learning. But anyways, you're there to learn. And let's say that there's a person who is constantly asking you questions about your life. Now, I don't want you guys to confuse it with somebody who's just trying to be friendly, right? Because there are people that just want to be friendly and they just want to, get to know you, right? And you get to know them. It's reciprocal. They get to know you, you get to know them. But see, it's different when it's a narcissist or a flying monkey, and they go up to you and they start asking you questions about your life. Do you plan on having children? Or, how much money do you make at your job? If they're asking you questions like that, 99% of the time they're trying to get information from you to give to a narcissist who's in that religious organization, and then they can use that against you at a later date. They can use it to manipulate you. They can use it to stalk you. They could stalk you and through other means and things like that. If you tell the flying monkey where you work, that narcissist could actually go to your job and they could smear you to your boss. And then before you know it, now you're in HR explaining something you never did. And then you end up getting fired from your job. Yes, this does happen because narcissists are jealous of everybody, right? Narcissists, they don't love anybody, right? They don't know how to love. Love is not in a narcissist, right? So don't expect anything good to come out of a narcissist because they're not good people. They're not authentic people. They're not honest people. They're not genuine people. All they do is go around and steal other people's ideas. And then once they get something that they want, they just throw it away because they weren't wanting or in love with the thing that they got. They were more wanting the control. That's what satisfies a narcissist, is controlling as many people as they can, right? So a flying monkey in this situation, that's a flying monkey, let's say, in the church. So essentially, now that I've set the ground, now that I've sort of talked about, the different, scenarios of, what a flying monkey could do in certain situations. Now we're going to talk about the two camps of flying monkeys. So the first camp of flying monkeys are people who don't know that they're actually a flying monkey. They're gullible, or I wouldn't say they're gullible, because if your gullibility just means that you know something, but you decide to do it anyway. That's what it means when someone's gullible, right? But when we're talking about a flying monkey, so two categories of flying monkey. The first one is somebody who just doesn't know that the narcissist is in fact a narcissist, and they're doing what the narcissist says, right? That's the first group of flying monkeys. The second group of flying monkeys are people who know the narcissist is a narcissist, and they are working for the narcissist, and they may even be a narcissist as well, right? Those are the two categories, two camps rather, of flying monkeys, right? So if you think about it, some of us, especially when we were younger, some of us were flying monkeys for our parents, our narcissistic parents or narcissistic siblings, right? Because we didn't know that our sibling or our parent was a narcissist, right? But we thought that we were doing them a favor. We thought that they loved us, right? But in fact, narcissistic parents don't love their children. And I made a video on that back then. You should go through my playlist that talks about the fact that narcissistic parents are jealous of their own children, right? So, when it comes down to it, many of us didn't know we were flying monkeys, right? So the thing with being a flying monkey, when you don't know what it is, it's hard. It's hard. It's very challenging, right? But when somebody's asking you to, constantly be doing things for them, whether doesn't matter if it's your parents or your boss or whomever, you have to always ask yourself the question: why are they asking me to do all of these things? And what is it that they want to get out of it, right? Those are some of the questions that you want to ask. And when you ask these questions and you're actually getting the answers, you have to make the decision if you want to still, associate with this person, if you want to still deal with this person, right? Because if they're making you do it, chances are they're doing it to many other people, right? Now, when it comes down to flying monkeys who know the narcissist is in fact a narcissist, these people can actually be very dangerous, right? And these people can actually turn on the narcissist, right? And go against the narcissist and tell the narcissist that they're wrong. Now, flying monkeys will eventually get what is coming to them, right? Some people smarten up, and they realize that the narcissist is in fact a toxic person, that the narcissist is in fact a narcissist, and then they have nothing to do with them, right? Some people figure this out. Some people don't figure this out, right? But the people who are toxic, just like the narcissist, those people, those flying monkeys, can actually be very dangerous, right? They could, they could go, spy on somebody. They could go, and commiserate with the narcissist to go and, kill that person. This flying monkey could actually go do a massive smear campaign for the narcissist, to that target. Right? So those flying monkeys, all flying monkeys are dangerous, but these ones that actually know the narcissist is toxic and that they're actually narcissists themselves, they can actually be very dangerous as well, right? So that's why I'm saying you have to be very careful, who you give your information to, right? Because not everybody, has your best interests at heart. Not everybody, cares about you the way that you care about them, right? Not everybody is on your side. Right? People who you think are on your side, many times they're not on your side. Many times they're jealous of you. Many times they want what you have, right? And they want to be you, right? That's another thing. They want to be like you, but they know that they can't be like you because that's just not who they are, right? They can't be like you, right? So they need to destroy everything about you to sort of make it seem as though they are better than you, right? But they're not better than you by destroying everything about you. But that's what they think in their minds, that if they can destroy everything about you, that means that they are better than you, right? But that's not true. We know that that's not true, right? So when it comes down to flying monkeys, how exactly do you deal, with a flying monkey? Like when somebody who knows a narcissist is toxic, how do you deal with one of these people? Well, you don't give them any information, right? If they're asking, if especially if it's a person that you don't know, you've never met this person before, and they're asking you personal details about your life, like how much money, like I said before, like how much money you make, where do you work, and they're asking you all these questions, about your personal life, right? Like, do you plan on having children? Do you have children? Like they ask you these very, personal questions. If they're asking you these questions, then you know that they're trying to get information from you, right? And you want to disengage. That's how you deal with them. You disengage. You stop talking to them, right? You gray rock. What is gray rock? Gray rocking is when you become dull and you become boring. You stop giving them information. You give them one word answers, right? You say yes and you say no and you say okay, and then you just phase them out completely, right? But the question is, what do you do if this flying monkey is a malignant narcissist? If they're a very dangerous person, if they're very, loud, and if they punch things, how do you deal with the flying monkey who's physically, who wants to cause physical harm to me? Well, the answer to that question is this, and I actually made a video talking about and the title of that video, if you're new to this channel, is what exactly do you do when the narcissist comes back? So in that video, what I talked about was how to deal with a malignant narcissist who's dangerous and is threatening you and is threatening harm against you. What do you do if they're in your vicinity, like they come to you and they're in your space? Well, what you do is, you disengage, you don't speak to them. And if they put their hands on you, you don't put your hands on them, because that would be stupid. But what you do is you let the person next to you or who's around you know that, I'm being harassed, or I'm being, attacked, please call 911. Or if you can't say all that at once, just say call 911 to the person next to you. If you're in the space of people, right? Now, if you're in the four walls of a building, like a house or something like that, or a building, then what you do is you stay silent, right? You stay silent, you maintain your silence, and you act like it doesn't affect you, right? Don't show your emotions or anything like that. You just stay silent, stay stoic, stay calm, right? Don't let them get to you, because it's when you bring your feelings into it, then the narcissist knows that they have power over you. And when they know they have power over you, that means that they can hurt you more. Right? So don't bring your emotions into it. I know it's easier said than done, but what you want to do is you want to start by being silent, right? Because when you're being silent, then what's going to happen is the narcissist, it means you're not giving them supply. And when you're not giving them supply, that means that the narcissist needs to go seek supply somewhere else, right? And that's what the flying monkey will do. They'll see that they're not getting anything from you, and then they'll need to go elsewhere, to get it from somebody else, right? So that's what you need to keep in mind when it comes down to the flying monkeys. And rest assured that the flying monkeys, they're going to get what's coming to them too, right? Whether it's directly or whether it's indirectly, right? They're going to get what's coming to them, right? And the narcissist is going to may even turn on them when they least expect it, right? Or somebody more dangerous, like a Machiavellian psychopath, they'll encounter one of them, and then that Machiavellian psychopath will take them out, right? So what I'm saying, guys, is don't try to, one up the narcissist. Don't try to, fight, or give information to the flying monkeys thinking that, it's going to make anything better, because it won't. Well, all it's going to do is it's going to, make the narcissist want to hurt you more. And it'll make the flying monkeys want to, do more damage to you as well. And they will send the information back to the narcissist. So just be very wary, be very careful who you give information to. I'm not trying to say, be paranoid now and don't talk to anyone. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is just be very careful, especially if it's people who you don't know at all and you don't have anybody in contact with this person. Then just be very careful, who you give your information to, because a lot of people are out there just collecting information about people to use against people at a later date, right? And a lot of people don't care about anybody but themselves, and that's the narcissist. They don't care about anyone but themselves. They're only out for themselves to satisfy their selfish desires. They're only out for themselves to get supply from other people. And once they get that supply, they run off, and then they get supply from someone else, and then supply from someone else, and then supply from someone else, and then supply from so like their cycle just keeps on going around and around. They keep going around that same cycle, about love bombing them, and then devaluing them, and then discarding them, and then hoovering them to check on them to see if they can get more supply from them. Like, it's the same thing, right? So that's what you need to keep in mind when it comes down to the two camps of flying monkeys. When it comes down to that, though, again, make sure that you know who it is that you're in the presence of, because many times a lot of people, like I said before, they don't know that they're a flying monkey. They don't know that they're enabling somebody's poor behavior, right? So when somebody's acting disrespectful to another person, I guess that's what I'll say now. When you see somebody's acting disrespectful to another person, I know that like when we were children, it was easy for us in our minds to want to, join in on that person hurting that other person. But I'm telling you right now, your best bet is to mind your own business, right? Mind your own business, walk away, because chances are that person will target you, at a later date if you allow them to, right? But if you show them indifference and you don't give them attention and you walk away, then they will know that they cannot get to you, right? Then they know that, you most likely, the game. And that game is of the narcissistic abusive cycle game, right? So just be aware of those two groups of flying monkeys, right? The people that don't even know that the narcissist is in fact a narcissist, and let me add in a third person, a third group of people, a third group of flying monkeys. These flying monkeys are the people that are actually scared of the narcissist, right? These people are afraid that the narcissist is going to, hurt them. So they won't, stop working for the narcissist, because if they think that in their minds that if they stop working for the narcissist, that the narcissist is going to hurt them directly or indirectly, right? But again, this goes back to what I said previously a moment ago. Just be careful who you give your information to. Because that's all flying monkeys are. They're just enablers. They're just people that work for the narcissist and do things for the narcissist. That's all they are, right? And they're nothing else. There's nothing else to them. They have nothing going for them, right? That's why they follow the narcissist in the first place, because they have nothing going for them, right? And I can tell you that I've dealt with flying monkeys all throughout my life, right? And I've dealt with people that were trying to gather information about me. And back then I didn't know that I was, being, targeted, right? But people were gathering information about me, and then they were bringing it to other people. And then before you know it, those other people had hatred for me for some reason. And I didn't understand why I was hated by all these people, right? But now I realized that, those people were flying monkeys, and they were enabling a narcissist somewhere. And that narcissist was trying to get information that they could use to smear campaign about me to other people. So you see the cycle, it goes around and around and around. And once you understand, the nuances and that everything is connected, then it all starts to make sense and fall into place, right? But if you haven't really gotten through it, then it's challenging. It's a little tricky to understand. But once you sort of understand, the nuances, and you understand the glossary of the terms, and you sort of put things together, it makes it easy to understand, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about with you guys today. Like I said, thank you so much for joining me here today on Narcissism 101, Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. Really appreciate having you guys here. Like I said before, if you would like a one-on-one session, please email me at paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or you can send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you'd like to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out whether the person you're dealing with is a narcissist or not, please feel free to reach out to me. What I want to say again is, if you would like to call, just send a text to the number. Let me know your name, and let me know that you've been watching some of my narcissism videos, and that I can help you. But if you just call, I may just block the number, just because I don't answer random numbers. Fake. Some of them are fake, and some of them are people that just want information. So just send a text. Let me know your name, and I can help you. Also, I put a link down below to a podcast that I spoke on about my narcissistic experience. There's part 1 and part 2. I'd encourage you guys, especially if you're new, to watch that just so that you can get an understanding of, my journey and how I made it out of my narcissistic abuse experience. Also, like, subscribe, share it with somebody. If you have a specific topic that you would like for me to speak about, please comment below and let me know if there's something that you want me to talk about. I'd be more than happy to, talk about it with you guys. I'd be more than happy to answer questions. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you have experiences with flying monkeys or someone who's who's trying to get information from you, drop it below. You'd be helping a lot of the people who are trying to, get more information and are trying to get away from these people. All right. So thank you guys so much again for joining me here. I hope that you guys have an amazing day, and I hope to see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much.